me. Come on.
Olivia! Okay, guys. This is not a popularity contest. Vote for the person who you think would make the best leader, not who you like the most. I work hard in whatever job he's given me, and you know what? I'm gonna work even harder at this one.
Alrighty, hey guys, what's going on? This is Eric here, and I'm back with actually our 5th Kid Nation interview. Today I'm joined with Blue Team cast member Olivia. You know, she's she's part of the only sibling pair to appear on the show, which is, you know, super special and unique. So, you know, welcome, Olivia.
Thank you.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good. Not too bad.
That's great. Yeah, hope you're doing well in quarantine and everything. That's good. So, you know, first question that we had for you is, you know, you had a pretty unique situation with the casting and everything. So how exactly did you and Mallory, you know, both get on the show?
Yeah, so our dad tried out for Survivor, and he sent in an audition tape because it was 2007 and tapes were a thing still.
Yeah.
And they called him like a couple days after he sent in his tape, and they left him a voicemail because he wasn't home at the time. Again, 2007, different time.
Yeah.
So they left him a voicemail, but what they said to him was, hey, you know, we heard you talk about, you know, your life and your kids and everything. We're not really interested in having you on Survivor, but your kids sound really interesting for a new, like, kids show that we're doing. Would you mind, like, bringing them in to have an audition? And my parents kind of asked us, like, would you guys want to be on TV? And, of course, Mallory was psyched. She was psyched. The thing that people don't know about me is that I was a wildly shy kid. I know that's very hard to believe from the things that you guys have seen, but I was a very shy kid, and I was a little more hesitant about the whole thing, but I was kind of like, okay, well, Mallory seems to want to do this, like, we might as well, I guess, like, just kind of go for it. And my mom always told us, she was like, you know, it'll be a good way for you guys to experience rejection in a safe environment.
Yeah.
And she just thought, you know, it'll be a cool experience auditioning. And she never thought that we were actually going to get on the show, and then we did. Wow.
That's great. So I also know that you have a brother as well. Was he ever considered to be part of the process of the show?
No, he wasn't. He was 3.
Oh, okay. My bad. I've only seen, like, modern pictures of you guys. I thought, honestly, he was in between the ages of you and Mallory.
No, he's grown. I mean, obviously, he's grown a lot since he was 3. He's 16 now.
Oh, okay.
He's like 6 feet tall, so I get that,
okay.
but no.
Gotcha. And it makes sense for your dad, too, to, like, be sort of the guy behind this, because he's the guy who makes all the, like, at least uploads all the videos for you guys and everything on the Kid Nation, you know, whatabouts. But that's definitely pretty unique. I haven't, every time I ask that, it's something pretty unique, but.
Yeah. They found us in a lot of interesting ways.
What was your favorite and least favorite moment in Bonanza City?
Okay, my least favorite moment is really easy. So the showdown where we were, this is my least favorite moment that you've seen on TV.
Okay.
So my least favorite one was when we were wading through those baked beans with all the pigs.
Yeah.
You never go back. You never go back. It was so disgusting. The pigs were pooping everywhere. So we're, like, sticking our hands in what is essentially baked beans and pig crap.
Yeah.
And then Mallory, actually, so they didn't show this on the show, so here's your little bonus content. Mallory got kicked in the head during that showdown. Like, it was an accident. Somebody was getting out when she was also trying to get out, and they just, like, bonked her.
Wow.
But so the medic took her out, and they do not, like, if you look at that challenge, they don't show me very much at all, because the whole time I am like, where is she? Where did you take her? Is she okay? What's going on here? Like, I go into full-on mama bear mode, and they never show me doing any of that, because obviously they don't want you to know that, like, the littlest kid is hurt or anything. And she was fine, but
right.
you know, at the time, you're 8-year-old sister being wheeled off by a medic, and you're like, what is going on here? Wait, why was I not included in this?
Exactly. So, I mean, she got kicked, but that didn't, like, pause the showdown at all. Like, it just kept running.
They didn't pause it at all. They just pulled her out, and we were all expected to keep going and not ask questions.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is crazy to say the least.
Weird.
How about your favorite moment?
Yeah. This is also something that was not on TV. There was a day that me, Laurel, Kennedy, a couple other people, maybe like Morgan and Gianna, were all together, and we were in the Green Girls bunk, and we basically did some impressions of some of the other kids, the hosts, the producers.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. Everybody in Bonanza's favorite joke the entire time was making fun of Jonathan, which I'm really happy to see that the Kid Nation community has also picked up on that and like just rolled with it, because that's exactly what we did too. We just made fun of him all the time, and not like a mean-spirited way, just in a like, Guylan had a great one. Guylan would imitate his opening when we first got off the buses, when he's like, Bonanza City is a few miles that way, and you walk with the wagons. But Guylan would be like, okay, Bonanza City is 27 miles that way, and we're going to turn you into ants and make you, like, carry elephants on the way there. Like, he would just, like, take it 20 steps too far, and it was cute. Yeah.
Right. Speaking of which...
Those were the fun things.
Right. No, that does sound like a lot of fun. Something that, like, people have sort of picked up on the show is that whenever, like, Jonathan Karsh is introducing the gold star, he always says, this is the star, it's worth its weight in gold, literally. People sort of think that he wasn't saying that every time, because you don't see his face most of the time when he says it. Would he say that every single week? Or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
Voiceover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you look at it, almost every week they're showing the star during that moment. So I think he said it like a few times, but not every week.
Okay. In every episode, that line is dropped. That's a pretty big meme. That we like to poke fun at Jonathan for that one, definitely. So what's really exciting that we got to see on your YouTube and your Twitter and stuff. You're working on a book on Kid Nation. I mean, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have written the book now. It is about 300 pages.
Wow.
And it really kind of follows Mallory and I's story through how we got cast, what the audition process was like, behind the scenes of that, and then what actually happened while we were there. And obviously it's from my point of view because, that's the only point of view I can really write from is my own. And then it kind of follows us into the aftermath of what it was like to, be recognized in public and have all kinds of crazy stuff happen. It was so interesting because we get people who came up to us in public, and like in public, people would be like, oh my gosh, we love you guys, like all this kind of stuff. But like on the internet, things were different. And I'm sure you guys, being on this server and everything, know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But my parents did a really good job of keeping us off of the forums and stuff, which I think was for the best.
Right. I mean, especially back then on the forums, I'd say that was like a different beast altogether. You can still see some of it on like TiVo Talk from like 2007, just a really old forum. And, people don't mince words. Like, people, like, a lot of them hate everyone. Like, you'd stereotypically just think, okay, maybe some people got a few unkind words for, like, Greg and Taylor, and maybe everyone else is just neutral. People would give, like, excerpts why they hate Mike or, like, Guylan, and, like, characters that just had, like, episode of the week people, Like, they would... No one's safe from the 2007 forums, honestly, so definitely.
Yeah, I was... at the time I was like, Mom and Dad, like, why can't I get on these? I can do this if I want to. But now I've looked back at some of them as an adult, and I've been like, yeah, that was for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of that was...
100%. So, the book is complete already? That's awesome.
It's done. So I think what I'm going to do is... basically launch a website, have people sign up to basically get the first chapter for free and see how much interest there is in it. I might just put the whole thing out. If there's enough interest in it, I'll just go ahead and put it out there. We'll see. It's an old show, I know.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting experience.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, when it's out there, feel free to let me know. I'll advertise in the Discord, and we'll do something special on my channel for it too. I mean, come on, you're here with us, so I mean, it's the least we could do.
I'll have a book party. There you go.
Yeah, we'll start a book club. Yeah, everyone has to have the book. Do you have a title for it?
That's right. That's a good question. I have changed the title probably in upwards of 20 times. So what the title ends up actually being. The problem is I've worked on it for so many years that I think I've just gotten way too attached to it. I think I'm just like, I need to get this out there and be done editing and doing all that kind of stuff.
100%. And, so you started it in what year?
Well, I guess that kind of depends on your definition of started. So some of what's in the book is the pages from my journal that I kept in Bonanza, which is how I remember a lot of it so well.
Yeah.
That I kept a detailed journal at the time, which thank you to my past self for doing that. But so, that stuff was written at the time, but I really started in earnest probably in like 2015.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So, I mean, this has been quite the extensive, passion project for you.
Definitely. It has.
Definitely. I mean, I'm happy to hear that it all materialized and everything. That's great. So, were there any moments in Bonanza City that you were surprised got cut?
There were a lot. And that's just kind of part of the nature of it, I guess, is that like our whole lives were filmed, so they can't show everything, but some of the stuff that got cut was just us being kids for a minute, and getting to do some of that fun, goofy stuff that kids do. You see like little snippets of them at the ends or beginnings of episodes.
Right, in the credits of like each episode, yeah.
Yes, they show that kind of stuff. But that was like the vast majority of what happened while we were there, because we were just a bunch of kids. So that stuff got cut. Anything that made it look like they were endangering us got cut. So people getting hurt got cut a lot. There were days when not all of us got breakfast or dinner because there wasn't enough food or because somebody took more than they were supposed to. They never show that. That kind of stuff. And they don't show me running in the second election. Completely cut me and Sophia. Both of us ran in that second election, and they cut both of us out.
That's crazy. Okay, I heard about the second election from Anjay, because he actually got more votes than you in the second election, but I had no clue Sophia ran.
Did not.
You did not?
No, in the second election, I took pride in the fact that I might not have beat Greg in the second one, but I did beat Anjay.
Yeah, you beat Anjay. It was 4 for Greg, 3 for Anjay, 2 for you. Right.
Nope, it was 3 for me, 2 for Anjay.
3 for you, 2 for Anjay. That's what I meant.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Only people who voted for Anjay in the second election were himself and Alex, because Nathan had been traded to the Red District, who voted for him the first time. And then I got my own, Mallory's, and Gianna's votes, and then the rest of them went to Greg.
So yourself, Mallory's, and Gianna's votes, and then the other 4 were for Greg. One crazy thing that I thought did happen was the fact that he pulls Emily from the Red District, where she was very unhappy, and brings her to the Blue District, and then she votes him out. I just thought that was kind of funny.
She had a giant crush on Greg.
Oh.
We both, and I both knew as soon as that second election. It's interesting. Anjay and I actually made eye contact over everybody else's heads when that second election was announced, because I think both of us kind of knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because Emily was the Greg fan club. She was obsessed with him in a way that annoyed him. And you can ask him about it. He'll be like, but we knew neither of us were getting Emily's vote.
Oh, wow. That's wild. So, when you were running, like, what did you sort of imagine, like, your leadership to be that would differ from either Anjay's or Greg's?
Yeah, so in the first election, that was a little easier because we had a lot more time to process it. The second one, we really didn't know until we got in there that was happening.
Yeah.
But for the first one, and people ask me about why Anjay and I fought and all that kind of stuff. What you have to understand is like the thing at the center of almost all of our conflicts and our disagreements, especially in the political race, was that Anjay didn't want to fight about anything. He would constantly say, I'm a pacifist, but that also meant he wasn't willing to fight for anything.
Right.
And my argument was, hey, some things are worth fighting for.
Exactly.
And we would disagree on what things exactly were worth fighting for, because to me it was almost everything, and to him it was almost nothing. I will say, my measure for what a universal good thing was something Anjay and I could agree on. But I digress. That was my whole thing was, with him, I felt like we were never going to get somebody who was willing to stand up for us.
Right.
And by stand up for us, I mean, the Blue District, but also kind of some of the kids who were younger, some of the kids who were at the back of the breakfast line and didn't end up getting breakfast that day because somebody else took their fair share. My whole theory was there should be consequences to that for those kids who took more than they were supposed to, because
Sure.
it is not something we're going to mess around with,
Uh-huh.
So that was a big part of it, was that kind of thing. And the thing was, obviously the producers couldn't show you guys that that's part of what my platform was, because then they'd think that that they were starving us.
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't starving us, but when you're doing a lot of manual labor, one reasonable meal a day is not enough.
Right. I agree. And actually, one note, upon like a rewatching of the show, you got me thinking about like Anjay's like, pacifist nature, or how he doesn't really stand up for himself. This is one scene that sort of like jumped to my mind, is where Blaine gets traded to the yellow team, and Greg confronts him. He's like, "Why do you trade away Blaine to the yellow team, man? Like, I am okay with Nathan, but do not get rid of Blaine. Why'd you do that?" And then Anjay just goes, "Because," and then that's like the end of it,
The explanation for that was something they couldn't show, though. The explanation was because the producers told me to. Producers told him to trade Blaine. And the producers tried to get Laurel to trade people, and Laurel refused. I respected her immensely for that. We were like, finally, someone who's got the guts to stand up to the producers, because the producers would suggest crazy crap things that none of us wanted to do. And she was the one who was willing to stand up and do something about it. And that was part of the whole thing with me, was I was like, I want to be able to do that, because we're not getting that over here right now.
Right, 100%. Sorry to jump around all over the place, but with Sophia running, this is my first time hearing of Sophia running. So she ran like against Laurel and Michael.
Laurel and Michael, Sophia, correct.
Okay, so what was the voting outcome like for that?
That's a good question. I don't remember how that one went. We were all shocked that Laurel got voted out. Everyone was outside of the Green District. I don't know what had been going on in there to, make that happen. But I think, when I had talked to some of them, they were all just like, oh, we just kind of felt like a change.
Yeah.
But, I always found it really interesting that the producers chose to cut myself and Sophia from that last election, because if you look at it, you cut two of the stronger female candidates from that
100%,
race.
I agree.
It doesn't feel coincident.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a coincidence. So
Gotcha.
that's my whole bit on that, but I could go into that more, but I won't. I will say, when that last council got elected, all of the girls were scared.
Really?
All of us.
Okay.
They do not show that basically all of the girls banded together after that and were just like, what's going to happen here? Because these boys are going to run us into the ground. We don't have any representation out here. Like, they could go and do something that's going to be horrible for us and not care.
Right.
Which is funny because it's kind of real world. That's a little too real, right?
Yeah, sure. Speaking of which, by the way, that specific console fans note it as the Console of Doom. I don't know if you've heard that before. With the
I haven't. That's probably something similar to what we called it, to be honest.
Okay. But there's actually one interesting scene within the console. Well, it's not the entire console, but it's DK, Greg, and Blaine. They're all in the street together, and they're catcalling people, and it quickly escalates, far beyond, like it becomes like a big clash between people, and actually, at that point it's like Green Team versus everybody, and actually you're standing with the Blue Team, like you're standing with Greg, Mallory standing there. There's almost like you can almost like draw a line down there that shows the split. Like what was in your like head when that was going on?
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I dove into in the book. But the thing that you don't necessarily get is that Greg came into the Blue Girls' bunk the night before and said, basically, we just heard the Green District talking crap about every single one of you, and here's exactly what they said.
Wow.
And from what he said anyway, I don't know how truthful it was. Let's be honest, we do have a slightly biased source here.
Sure.
From what he said, that a lot of the girls who I had considered friends had been saying things about how basically the other teams couldn't hold a candle to them. They were the best team, which some of that's to be expected, but some of it was a little too personal commentary-wise.
Sure.
Some of it was, so-and-so is this, so-and-so is that. And I'm not going to rehash any of that stuff, but,
sure.
A lot of us who were, because I considered myself friends with, like, Laurel, Kennedy, Morgan, so to a lot of us, especially those of us who felt like we were friends with them, that was a really difficult pill to swallow, that they had basically gotten the entire Green District together and crap talked everybody else.
Right.
And again, I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know how much of he exaggerated to try to make us feel like we needed to be, aligned with him or whatever. But at the time, we were all really mad about it. We were all mad about it. We felt betrayed.
Exactly. This is not, maybe this will give some sort of closure, but we're, for the most part, pretty... Oh, Olivia, are you still there? All right, so where we were was DK was telling me that actually, he's not exactly sure about what happened. But if you see on the show, it's very clear that Greg's talking about how, like, like the Green Team only talks smack about Greg and Blaine, at least from what we see. But then in the same conversation they use to talk about Greg and Blaine, they add DK to that too, which I think is to get, like, strength in numbers for that, confrontation scene. I don't think DK actually had anything to do with it. And I'm sure that, like, DK and Laurel were actually very close.
They were.
When the show was going on. So, that sort of adds a little bit to the maybe you guys are being exploited a little bit theory.
Yeah. The producers would lie to us on a regular basis about, oh, so-and-so said this or that about you. What do you think about that? That kind of stuff. But that one was weird, I think, simply because it came from another kid. But do I think it's possible that he lied about it and that they had only been talking about Greg and Blaine? Yeah, I think that's possible.
Okay. Which do you think's more likely? If you had to just guess, I know it's 13 years ago.
Knowing that I stayed friends with several of the Green District people, I think it's more likely that they probably were just talking about Greg and Blaine.
Okay, gotcha. And when you're talking about, like, producers, telling certain stuff to you, would this be, when they, like, pull you aside and you're being filmed in front of a tree and you give, like, a quick excerpt on, like, an event going on? Or would they actually just, casually talk to you or anything?
Oh, they talked to us all the time. It wasn't...
Okay.
Interviews, so they were a constant presence in our lives. The other thing that you have to understand is that each bunkhouse had a producer that lived in it with us, and they got their own little off room with a bed.
Sure.
And, like, modern stuff.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, we had producers around us all the time, which is why I think for some of us it was really, really easy to get it blurred between where real life began and where the TV show began, because to us it became just all of its real life, which is exactly what they wanted, because then they can get us to say or do certain things that we might not have done if we had really thought about it.
Gotcha. Why do you think the producers were there in like the next bed, in case of like a medical emergency, or in case like there was something that needed to be filmed like at night or something? Like,
oh, like why they lived with us?
Yeah.
I think some of it was a supervision thing.
Sure.
Just being like, we should maybe not leave a bunch of children alone. But some of it was they all had walkie-talkies on them and they could hear through the wall between the room what we would say and stuff. So if we were saying something particularly interesting, they would just walkie-talkie one of the camera dudes and be like, hey, get in here. They're saying some stuff. And we didn't figure that out until we were probably about, 15 days in,
Wow.
that they were listening to all of our conversations and that they were sending the cameras in whenever something remotely interesting was being said.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's to be a different type of supervision.
Yeah, privacy was not really a word with them. They'd wait for you outside the house, so it was
Definitely.
that was not how that worked.
Right. Speaking of Greg, just from what we've seen, we, sort of, a lot of the viewers, I think, had the impression that out of all of, like, Greg's relationships, obviously you guys weren't best friends, but, it seemed like you had a better relationship with Greg, compared to the majority of, Bonanza pioneers. Could you go into that a little bit?
That's such an interesting question. It's funny because he and I did not get along at all. At all. And they cut a lot of that out. I was not his biggest fan.
Sure.
Because I thought he was wildly inappropriate. Sorry, I'm being licked by my dog.
Oh, no. That's totally fine.
I thought he was inappropriate. He obviously did the whole like cursing in the middle of town thing, and he scared the crap out of Mallory on more than one occasion. There were times that I thought he might hit somebody, and the producers might maybe let him get in one hit just for entertainment's sake.
Yeah.
You've seen it on a reality TV show where they have like the producers come in and break up a fight, but only after it started.
Yeah.
They knew that fight was going to start. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
There were moments like that with him where I just watched him and I'm like, I think he's going to hit somebody. I'm getting Mallory out of here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. While it may look like we did not have a mutual dislike for each other, we very much had a mutual dislike for each other. He also was a big part of the reason, well, in my opinion, was a big part of the reason why I was never on the council, was because he ran the second time, and then the first time, he basically knew that I wasn't going to put up with this crap the way that Anjay did,
Sure.
and that I was basically going to start punishing him for doing some of the crap that he was pulling, that especially some of the stuff that they didn't show on camera. So he had a vested interest to not have me in power.
That's interesting.
Because he knew I'd call him out on his crap when Anjay wouldn't.
That makes a lot of sense, because at one point when I was talking to Anjay, he said Greg was one of his greatest supporters, and at that point I'm like, huh.
Because Anjay would let him do whatever because Anjay was a little afraid of him, and I don't blame him. I was a little afraid of him too. But
I don't know if you actually did hear, but one of the last days, obviously this is not aired, but Greg throws Anjay through a window. I don't know if you heard about that or saw that. Were you there for that?
Yep.
Really?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I had heard about it. That's exactly the kind of crap that look at my surprise face. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't exist. This is the kind of crap we knew he was going to pull the whole time. I don't I am very careful to not talk a whole bunch of trash about some of the other kids because I know what it feels like to have people trash talk you.
Sure.
So I try to stick factually here. Factually speaking, there were multiple times I thought he was going to hit people. Mallory was genuinely afraid of him, and I tried to keep her away from him as much as possible. So take from that what you will.
Definitely. And speaking on that note, you know, how would you feel like, you know, having Mallory around all, like, not just like Greg, but like, you know, even Andre would say, you know, they'd all be swearing all the time, especially off camera and stuff. And I know you guys came from like a pretty strong Christian household and everything, where probably like you guys weren't exposed to a whole lot of that, especially to that extent and length without, you know, parents to interfere. What was sort of that like for you?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. You know, I think people always say things like, "Oh, you guys were raised in a strict house." We really weren't raised in a super strict house. That just wasn't part of our daily lives. Cursing just wasn't. Our parents just didn't curse that much. It wasn't a big deal to us. And you have to keep in mind, you know, Mallory is 8. That show is how she learned most of those words.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Because she had never heard them before.
Wow.
What she really heard and what mattered more to me than the cursing was the attitude behind it. Was
Sure.
the people getting so angry that they're screaming at each other in their faces kind of stuff. That was the stuff that worried me the most. So I think a lot of it comes out in the, hey, you guys need to stop cursing thing. But, you know, the sentiment behind that is, hey, you guys are scaring the crap out of my 8-year-old sister because you kind of seem like you're going to hit each other.
Right.
You're screaming at each other's faces. This is scary to her.
Uh-huh.
So that was really the big part of it. Was not necessarily the words themselves, but what was behind it.
Gotcha. And speaking of which, I'm sure the cursing also bothered another blue team member, Alex. He's not really seen a lot, but you know, he's really seen as like a nice, kind, like smart kid. Do you have like any particular memories or like interesting moments with him or anything?
With Alex?
Yeah.
I've never had that question before. You know, Alex was a younger boy. I wasn't really friends with him or anything. You know, I didn't dislike him, but we weren't really friends or anything. He was so funny because he was a very inquisitive kid. So he would just randomly go up to people in town. And you see this once when they're on the religion episode, when he goes up to people and starts asking about their religions. This was something he just did, like go up to people and ask them random questions. So you don't see any of us being like, why are you doing this? Because Alex asked a lot of questions all the time.
Really?
He was an inquisitive kid. And he's a smart kid and, you know, all that. The thing that I always giggle about was Mallory. And she doesn't feel this way now, but Mallory at the time resented Alex because she did. Because people would call him the cutest one there.
Oh, okay.
And so she wanted to be the cutest one.
I guess it was kind of a competition too. I mean, you know, for the cute screen time. It was a good thing Jimmy left the show on episode 1, or else that would have been some added competition there.
Right. I just thought it was cute at the time that she was like, they think he's cuter than me. They think he's this or that. I'm like, okay, calm down. Like, it's
right. Definitely. So in the talent show, you know, you do a stand-up comedy routine, and it's pretty humorous. Did you have like a history of like, you know, because not anyone can just do stand-up comedy. Even funny people can't really. Did you have any history of doing it? And did you do it after as well?
So that's a funny question. You know, like I mentioned earlier, I was a really, really shy kid. So when the kids at my school saw that episode, they were like, who is this girl? Like, we have never met her.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was definitely my first foray into that. And the hilarity of it is they cut out most of my routine because most of my routine made fun of the producers. Which they were obviously not show you guys. And the jokes wouldn't have made sense to you guys anyway.
Right.
But a lot of it is in the book, and you actually get the jokes when you know the producers in the book like we do. You know, like one of my favorite ones was there was a specific producer who was infamous. By the time the talent show rolled around, he was known for being the one who interviewed the younger kids and tried to make them cry on camera.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So I had like this whole series of jokes about how he was like the child destroyer and like all this crazy crap and like how kids ran and screamed when they saw him and all this. So that was the best part of the whole thing, and they cut it out. And I get it, but still a little salty.
That is crazy.
Yeah, but I never do anything like that ever again. It just hasn't it just hasn't been a thing. I mean, I'm a normal grown up with a normal job. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
okay, gotcha. Because
not what I
you
do.
know, there's a video of just the talent show, and people are like, "Wow, like Olivia's pretty good. Like, does she have like a history of this or anything?" But, or I mean, does she still has she pursued it? Wow, okay, definitely. So I know that you guys got DVDs of the show after it came out.
Hmm.
Were these like unedited, or was everything that we saw on TV just there in the DVDs?
It was just the stuff on TV. There was no way on God's green earth they could have sent us the unedited footage because it would have been piles.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
They filmed us sometimes while we were sleeping. Like, there was way too much of that. No, we have the actual show.
Gotcha. And there weren't any like bonuses or anything like that. It was just 13 episodes.
No, and I feel very ripped off by that. I feel like I should get some bonus.
Right. I mean, it's a DVD, of course.
Right.
You know, like that's the reason why DVDs even became popular. But...
Right. You bought the DVD for the bonus content and the like sing along episode. That was it. Right.
Yeah, that would be nice. So in your opinion, this can be for all the teams as well. But who do you think was like the best leader?
I want to say either Zach or Laurel.
Okay.
I feel like I'm a fairly biased source because I was friends with both of them.
Oh,
but,
okay.
You know, objectively, I think both of them were really good. They both obviously had different situations. Like Zach had to deal with a team that had previously not had a lot of leadership at all. But
Sorry, that was my roommate.
That's okay. But Laurel, you know, kind of made those power moves that a lot of the other kids were afraid to do.
Yeah,
she was
definitely.
willing to look at a producer dead in the eyes and say no, and the rest of us were kind of like, that's a grown-up. Are you allowed to do that? You know,
Right.
like, especially someone like me. Like, I was always kind of a goody two-shoes, and I'm just like, we can tell the grown-ups no here. This is amazing. What is
Yeah.
this?
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, her for that reason, but Zach had to clean up quite a bit in the Yellow District, and he did a great job of that.
Right, definitely. Actually, you know, you're the first I think you're the first person to interview to really bring up Zach. Maybe just some of the other people weren't as close with him. You know, he's always struck me as maybe just at that right age to where he truly believed in Bonanza City and like to make it better and stuff. Do you have anything like cool to share about him?
So, one of the pictures that got circulated a lot when the show was first starting is a picture of me and Zach in the laundry room with a washboard. I don't know if you've seen this picture. I'm like wearing the OG orange cowboy hat that I'm wearing all the time, which is
Yeah.
But we're sitting there, and that conversation actually was interesting. So he and I kind of buddied up during the first election because we both thought we were in the same situation.
Sure.
We both thought, okay, I have an ineffective leader here. I think I can be a better one. How do we make a plan so that basically the two of us can be the better alternative, but also that we would make sense on a council together? Because originally the producers didn't tell us that not everybody in town would be able to vote. So Zach and I were running kind of a, you know, we're both kind of in this same vein kind of thing.
Exactly.
And then they sprung it on us that we would only be allowed to vote in our own districts. And a lot of us got really worried, especially with Blue District and Yellow, because, you know, Greg had this vested interest to keep Anjay, who would not keep him in check.
Right.
And a lot of the Yellow District girls had a vested interest to keep Taylor because she would not make them work.
Right.
So, but the producers knew that. You know what I mean? Like, the producers kind of expected the people to pick Taylor and Anjay.
Right.
But, you know, one of those turned out the way that the producers expected and one of them didn't.
That's crazy. You know, I guess to maybe add to that point, you know, when you guys make your speeches to get elected, you're not making a speech to the Blue District, you're making a speech to the whole town.
Correct.
So, and yeah, that is kind of wild. So you probably thought, at that point when you gave that speech, you probably thought all 39, whatever, kids get to vote in that election.
Correct. At that time when the speeches were made, we thought everybody was going to vote. And I thought, you know, I honest to goodness thought I would lose in my own district but win in the others, because other people would have the best interest of the town at heart. And Zach thought the same thing too. Zach thought he would lose in his own district but win in all the others, because of the rest of us wouldn't vote for the thing that was actually best for everybody.
Right, exactly.
And I think the producers got wind of that. And to be honest with you, a council full of effective leaders would be a more boring show.
It would, yeah.
And I think they knew that.
Right. So, you know, Mallory won a gold star pretty early on in the show. Do you think that having her won a gold star, because you guys were sisters, might have lowered your impact on the gold star, like in terms of winning it?
Yeah, Anjay told me the week that I was up for it. Anjay told me, you know, we were gonna, you know, we thought about giving it to you, but basically we know that you and Mallory are gonna split that money, and so we thought we'd just kind of share the wealth. And I said, okay, that's fine, and we did. I mean, we did.
Yeah.
You got to keep in mind, whenever you watch a reality show, that prize money is taxed at 40%.
Right.
So we actually get about half of what you're seeing.
Okay, gotcha.
So really it paid for like less than a year of college, so it was not that big of a deal.
Exactly. Like everyone that I asked who had the gold star, it has not impacted any of their lives to crazy degrees. It's not like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or anything like that, you know.
I'm in slightly less student debt. Slightly less.
Definitely. Outside of the blue team, what would you say was your favorite team to really associate with?
I think I had a lot of my friends were on the green district. I was friends, you know, and I've mentioned this with Morgan, Laurel, Kennedy. A lot of them I was friends with. And this is something you guys don't see. I was buddy with Hunter.
Okay.
Which doesn't get shown at all, because he and I don't think we're ever together in front of the cameras very often. But I was so starry-eyed for that kid. Oh my goodness. And he knows this. This isn't a secret to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Although I will say, when we first came in, we pulled wagons when we first came in. I pulled a wagon with Maddie and Maggie, who were both on the red district. So I had my ties there as well. I didn't really have any friends in the yellow. Mallory was buddies with some of them, but
sure,
they were mostly just too young for me.
Right. This is something that I've heard as well. Maybe if you could just confirm it. You know, there definitely, us with Zach being the exception, mostly older kids hung out with older kids and younger kids hung out with younger kids. Like there's almost like an age divide there. Yeah,
there is. There definitely was. So the other thing that goes into that is like the 10-year-olds, the kids who were like 10 and 11, like right in the middle between young and old. It kind of depended on how mature they were. Like, for example, Zach was a very mature kid. Somebody like Colton, who was almost the same age as Zach, was a little less, you know, a little more kiddish than Zach was. Zach was like a little adult. So, you know, the kids in the middle, like that kind of went either way. But for the most part, we hung out with people our ages. My best bud there was Gianna, who was a little bit younger than me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's definitely not seen as much on the, I don't think at all, unfortunately.
No. And she was with me constantly. Almost any shot you see of me, she's next to me.
Oh, wow. Dang. So the blue team was merchant class a lot. That and upper class. You know, when you guys were running the merchant store, something that would always come up in my head was like, would anyone steal from the, you know, merchant shop? You know, you guys obviously raided everything at the very end, but I mean, like, would anyone just take some candy or something? Like, would that ever be anything you noticed?
No. And I don't know. No. I mean, the thing was, it's such a small town. Like, you get small town phenomenon where everybody knows everybody else's business. I don't think anybody would have been able to get away with that. Now, what I will say, so I don't know, has anybody told you about the raiding day?
No. I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, so that was planned by the producers.
Oh, okay.
They told us, you guys are leaving Bonanza tomorrow. Why don't you take a bunch of souvenirs? Why don't you just take whatever you want as souvenirs? And then they framed it on the show like we were rating everything. But in reality, they told us to go and do that. And they asked us, the name of that episode, that episode is We've All Decided to Go Mad, which is a quote from me.
Oh, that's what you say, yeah.
Yeah. But I only say it because that producer kept asking me, like, why are you guys stealing all this stuff? And I told him, we're not stealing. You told us to do this. It's ours. You gave it to us. And he was like, seriously, why did you do it? I'm like, I don't know. We've all decided to go mad. Like, I was pissed at him. Basically being sarcastic. It was a sarcastic comment, and they took it out of context.
Wow, and that shaped the episode.
Yeah. So if you listen to any of the commentary that I ever make and listen to it as if you're listening for sarcasm, you're going to be like, this girl was sarcastic like 98% of the time. And I'm like, that's right. Right. So that rating day is not real.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because, if you're looking at it from a different lens, like, some of the characters are just way out of character. Like, Alex and stuff. Like, you think Alex would steal anything, Like,
no, sorry.
I don't know, like everyone, like Sophia, Michael, I mean, there wasn't anyone, Zach, they were all,
Yeah, because we were given permission.
Yeah, exactly.
Souvenirs. We were like, oh, cool, we'll have something to remember this by.
So we have a pretty good idea about, like, your political, relationship with Anjay. How about when things were, like, off camera with him?
Yeah. So, I've talked about, he and I disagreed on a lot of things, but I think when he and I first met, we just didn't quite see eye to eye on things, and I think we saw that in a negative way, but as the show progressed, we saw it in more of a positive, in kind of a, okay, I might be able to help you see your blind spots, and you might be able to help me see mine. So, we actually got to be kind of friends by the end of it. I say kind of, I mean, we were on much, much better terms by the end.
Sure.
And especially after Greg got elected, because at that point, he and I were united in our fear.
Yeah.
Him that, Greg was going to come after him, because he had been in power previously, and me because I was just afraid of what Greg was going to do with the younger kids. And not in like a bad way, just in a, like, I didn't want him yelling and screaming at everybody.
Sure.
But, after the show ended, when my mom first saw the show, she was like, oh my gosh, Olivia, you have to go apologize to this Anjay kid. You berated him on national television. You cannot act that way. And at the time I was like, Mom, like, you don't know the whole story. You don't know the context or anything. And she was like, I don't care. They got the footage from somewhere. Go apologize to him. And I did. I went and apologized to him. And that apology started our friendship, weirdly enough. Like, we just kept talking after that. And we just still talk sometimes. I don't know if he told you. I don't think he told you about Marco Polo, did he?
No, he did not.
So we're in the middle of the longest game of Marco Polo that's ever been played, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Whenever one of us wants to talk, if it's been 2 weeks or 2 years, we'll just send the other one a text that says Marco. And the other one has to say Polo when they're ready to talk, and then we...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's hype.
Yeah, although sometimes I get a little snarky with him, and I once sent him the link to the Wikipedia page for polio, because I was just being smart about it, but... Yeah. It's fun. It's a fun little thing that we do.
Yeah, definitely. So there's no way we can do this interview and I cannot ask. Did you have any relationship with Jared?
All of you fans love Jared. I know. I mean, again, I wasn't buddies with him. He was a younger boy. I was kind of like, he exists. Mallory, now I will say, Mallory does still have the necklace that she bought from him. The ones that were wood that he burned the words Bonanza into, which I don't know. That was, honestly, it took him a long time to make those, but I wasn't super close with him. He did sell, at one point, pickles on a stick. And he was quite the little entrepreneur. So we participated in his in his entrepreneurial endeavors.
Gotcha.
That's about it.
For a while, he was having like a business rivalry with Devad, right?
Divide. Yep.
Yeah. Would you support Devad's business, or would that at that point was it mostly like Team Jared, because it was sort of like an anti-Devad movement that he started.
That whole thing was so interesting. That whole fight between the two of them actually caused Devad to branch out and start a different business that you don't see very much of, but you see a little bit of. She started frying potatoes and selling them as chips.
Oh, okay.
And she hired some of the younger boys to be her delivery boys, so you could pay an extra nickel to have your chips delivered to wherever you were.
Dang, that should have been aired.
Right?
That's
like,
really
it
interesting.
Was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was. And we all bought them too because they were good. They were really good. She kept saying she put a secret ingredient in them. I don't know if that was crap or not. Like, I don't know if there was a real secret ingredient because we didn't have a lot of stuff to cook with, but they were really good. She eventually figured out how to make ketchup. I mean, she was on it. So Jared kind of had his own little corner of the market after that because, she was doing her thing and he was doing his.
Sure. Okay. Wow. That's really crazy. Yeah, definitely. So, while we're on Jared, you might have heard in the first episode, he's had his worst day in 3 years.
Worst day in 3 years. I get asked this question all the time. Yeah.
I know, and I missed it in my last interview. Okay.
I don't know. I'm so sorry. Maybe somebody will know what happened, but I don't know.
We're 0 for 5 right now, but maybe we'll find out. Hopefully. I mean, if I find out, I'll let you know for sure.
If you find Jared, maybe you'll find out. I don't even know if he remembers. That's been a long time.
Yeah, that was 16 years ago. So that's absolutely crazy. So I'd say we're sort of wrapping up with the interview now. What are you up to now, Olivia?
Yep. So, I've alluded to this. I'm a regular grown-up now, which is kind of a boring thing to say, but I work in marketing. I live in Indianapolis. I have a dog who you've heard giving his lovely barks intermittently throughout this. But yeah, and I've got the book going on, so that's about it. I don't have like a crazy life. I think some people expect us to like have some crazy lives. Now I'm gonna tell you, the person who has like a crazy interesting life now is Morgan. That's who you need to talk to because
she's coming on.
She's been doing some interesting stuff. Ask her about Hamilton. Awesome. I'm just like in awe of all of that. But no, I was not one of the people who went on to do something wildly cool. I went on to be a normal grown-up, so yay for being well-adjusted.
Interesting that you bring up Morgan. Are you like friends with any other cast members?
Am I friends with any of the cast members now?
Yeah.
So Andre and I still talk. Obviously, we're still playing Marco Polo. I don't remember whose turn it is, but I still talk with Andre. Laurel and I talked not too long ago. And then, obviously I know what's going on with Morgan and all that. Obviously I still talk to Mallory. I didn't think I needed to mention that. She's my sister. So obviously we still are together all the time.
I'd be concerned if you guys didn't, but
yeah, it would be
fighting over the gold star for 13 years.
No. No. But yeah, honestly, I feel like I can pretty much hit up any of the other kids on the show and we could have a conversation that would be good. Pretty much everybody there. I mean, everybody's got somebody or another that maybe not, but I think almost everybody, all of us have like this such a weird shared experience that nobody else has, that nobody else can relate to.
Right.
That, it's kind of cool to have that with somebody.
Dang, that's great. They still keep in touch with a lot of them and everything. Good to hear you and Mallory are doing well. Very last thing, I know that you saw my Kid Nation tier list video.
Dude, you did me dirty. You did me dirty. We were gonna go the whole time, and I was not gonna bring that up. You know I was. Do you think I'm still an F kid? Honestly,
No. the fact that you came on here after I gave you the F rating, I mean, that speaks volumes on your character. And I mean, you know, you're an absolute blast to have here. Your new rating, you're in double S. That's double S. That's above the highest that I put on my video. You know, this has been an absolute blast to have you on.
Good.
Definitely.
I'm glad.
We have a redaction. It's
I'm
after
glad
double
I
S.
could redeem myself a little bit.
That's the highest jump in tier list history. So it's big. Definitely.
Awesome.
Well, Olivia, it's been a blast. I mean, I hope you keep, you know, doing well in everything that you do. I cannot wait. I mean, for real, let me know when that book's out, please, and then I will send it out to the masses as far as I can, for real, because I appreciate, you know, you coming on for the interview, especially after that F rating. I definitely appreciate you coming on a lot, definitely.
No problem.
Yep. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Peace.